Hello, this is Jim, W4JBM. I wanted to talk today about a project I've got going on. I'm actually trying to rearrange the whole shack and workshop, so I've been spending a lot of time cleaning up, going through things. Recently, I helped clean out the estate of a local silent key, and part of that was 3 racks of equipment. 2 racks were filled with a precision reference generator, signal generator, 100 kilohertz reference source that was good to 1 part per million. Was a huge beast with 2 sets of oscillators. They were in ovens, so a lot of heat, lots of tubes, lots of work to potentially get it up and running again. So I really didn't have any need for that because I've got a GPS disciplined oscillator, 10 megahertz reference source that I use around the shack now. So I did, but the racks obviously are useful. I had wanted to get some over the years, but never had really had the money or the time or the space to put them. But with this, now I've got 3 racks. There's 2 behind me that are part of the shack, and then there's one behind those 2 that's part of the workbench area. But I came across something that I wanted to share. Actually, 2 things I guess I want to share. One is that I bought some shelves from Amazon. These were actually ranked as the best-selling shelves. They were from a company called Raxxess, Raxxess. They're 10 inches deep, 1 3/4 inches tall, and can handle weights of 20 pounds. They cost $24.99, less than $25, which is a pretty good price. Over the years, I've paid a lot of money for, as part of work projects, paid a lot more money for rack shelves and rack odds and ends like keyboard drawers and stuff like that. So I was pretty happy with the price. But when I got them, I ran into, like always, it seems like a problem. So the racks that I've got, there's 3 different styles. The one I wanted to put it on originally, it had these kind of U-shaped channels on each side, and it's a little shorter rack than the one that I've actually got behind me now, but a little stouter, and it was one that I thought would handle everything I needed. Well, when I got the shelves and tried to fit them in, it turned out that the shelf itself was too wide. The front panel lined up fine in terms of getting it onto the holes for on the rack, the mounting strips along the side, but the shelf itself would not fit between the 2 rails on the side. So I thought that at first I thought, well, maybe this particular rack was different. So I had this actually is a rack that came from, it was part of the General Radio reference source, and it was used. It had an FAA part number and stuff on it too. So it was a professionally built rack that it was holding lots of other equipment already. So I knew that it was properly spaced and designed right within specifications, and the shelves would not fit in it either. So I wound up, the 3rd rack actually had, it wasn't this open frame one behind me, and it's just got basically L-shaped rails for holding on to it. It still would not fit in from the front. So with a little bit of creativity, what I had to do was I put the screws in from the front without the rack shelf in there. Then I put the shelf in from the back and seated it on the screws that I'd put through, and then I put bolts on the back to hold it in. So basically I installed the shelves from the back instead of from the front, and that only would work with the U brackets. It wouldn't work because I couldn't get around to the back of the screw to actually put the nut on. But with the L-shaped brackets, it worked fine, and I've got half dozen shelves. I'm happy with them, but I don't feel like I should have had to have gone through all that work. Now I will say that for $25, it probably is worth it. I looked at some other shelves from other manufacturers, and it's easy to get up into $50, $75 for shelves, and this one's going to do everything I want to do. So I did take a totally different approach on the large, fully enclosed rack. Or not fully enclosed; it's open front, but it's got a door in the back and side panels on it. With it, I've used 2x10s and 2x8s. On the side, and then the shelves themselves are made out of 1x6s. There's 2 of them with a little bit of spacing in between them that lets airflow through and also lets me run cable through them. So with that, I've actually got I think a pretty decent setup and a very stout setup for some of the heavier rigs, like the Yaesu transceiver here. I've also got a Heathkit HW101 that I want to put over here. So some of the older, heavier tube type rigs and stuff like that, I don't have to worry about the 20-pound weight limit that I do on the shelves, or the 10-inch depth. Since I've got the 1x6s with a little bit of space between them, I've got plenty of depth, basically all the way to the back. There's like an inch gap between the 2 1x6s in the middle, and then there's maybe a 2-inch gap or so on the back. So it gives me a very robust set of shelves, and pretty cheap too. And that's a trip to the lumber store, and I don't know exactly what I paid, but less than $20 of labor or of lumber, probably less in lumber for that. And I used black spray paint, so there's something in there for the spray paint. But definitely all the shelves in this probably cost less than 2 of the regular shelves. So anyway, I just wanted to share that. If you're thinking of buying the Raxxess, again, it's Raxxess. It's the #1 best-selling rack on Amazon, and I would recommend it as long as you've got the L-shaped bracket, or if you know that you've got extra space. I'm assuming that like the newer, like maybe a low-dollar audio rack or something like that, must have just, it's not much too wide. It's definitely less than a 1/4 inch, maybe more like 1/8 of an inch too wide. I mean, it just almost fits, enough to be really frustrating when you can't make it fit in there. Maybe modern racks are just a hair wider, or the lower dollar racks are just a hair wider because they use a little less steel or something. I don't know exactly what's going on, but like I said, if you can mount it from the back on an L rail, L-shaped rack, that's the approach that worked fine for me. If you don't, I would suggest maybe ordering one and seeing if it'll actually fit the rack that you've got, and if not, at least that way you're not out too much, and maybe you can figure out something. I did look at trying to figure out if there was a way to maybe grind off a little bit to make it work, but I didn't see anything that I was going to do was going to structurally weaken the shelf, and so it didn't seem like a good idea. And again, it was rated for 20 pounds, so if you weaken it very much, 20 pounds is about what you need really for something that's got, you're going to be setting it on there, and potentially setting something on top of it, or messing around with the dials and stuff like that can cause a little bit of force. You want it to be reasonably stout, and I didn't feel like there was any modification I could do to the shelves that would have maintained the structural integrity. So anyway, I will probably post some other updates on other things as I get the shack cleaned up and get things reorganized, and I'm looking forward to, it's actually been quite a while since I've been on the air, hopefully back on the air here in the next couple of weeks. So I always appreciate likes and subscribes, and I hope you have a great day. Thanks.